which is that when you start a war and you lose a war, you tend to lose territory and your population tends to have to move. And that is true everywhere from the end of World War II to the end of the Korean War. Quote, after North Korea launched its vicious, unprovoked attack on South Korea in June 1950, it was punished so severely by the American-led United Nations force, it lost over 1 million dead. North Korea lost territory in the armistice in 1953 and has been a pariah state ever since. When the Argentinian military dictatorship suddenly invaded the Falkland Islands in the South Atlantic in April 1982 and were utterly defeated 10 weeks later by Margaret Thatcher's task force, the entire junta in Buenos Aires was deposed from power, some were jailed, democracy returned to Argentina. Saddam Hussein's surprise attack on Kuwait was a similar example, where a country invades its neighbor suddenly and without provocation. After defeat in war, loses both the government, Saddam was hanged, and its sovereignty, while the U.S.-led coalition attempted to rebuild the country. In the collapsing former Yugoslavia of the early 1990s, Serb leaders such as Slobodan Milosevic, General Ratko Mladic, and Radovan Karadzic took the cold-blooded decision to invade neighboring Bosnia and conduct an appalling program of what came to be known as ethnic cleansing, which was mass murder. Those critics of Donald Trump, who tritely referred to his population transfers under the Gaza plan as ethnic cleansing, ought to revisit what the phrase actually means in terms of horror, violence, and bloodshed. Once NATO finally took to the air in Operation Deliberate Force to end the brutality, all three of those Serb leaders were imprisoned. Serbia's borders were decided by the West rather than by the Serbs. In other words, start a war, lose, lose. Right? That is typically the way that war has worked. And it's only when it comes to the Palestinians that magically the rules don't apply, which has less to do with the Palestinians, it seems, and more to do with the treatment of the Jews by the international community.